Hey guys, welcome to another video on the Inside Spurs channel. Happy Tuesday morning. In this video, we're going to be talking about the interview that's come out from Sky Sports on former Spurs and Chelsea manager Mauricio Pochettino. We're going to be talking about some more reports coming out of managers that would quite like the Spurs role. We've obviously got the loan roundup to talk about. So there's plenty of really good stuff to get into this week and plenty of good stuff to really have that conversation about. I think obviously with it being the international break and club football obviously grinds to a bit of a halt. I think it's a really good time, obviously, to reflect, which was what we did yesterday on the channel. Go and watch that if you've missed it. But also it's good to chat about really what's going on right this second at Spurs. And managerial talks coming out today is interesting. I think it's a bit of a worry, if I'm honest, as well. But you'll see what I mean when I get to it. All right. Just want to say happy Tuesday morning, by the way. I hope the day is going to treat you well. Morning, Sonia, Louis, Spurs, Dragon, Simon, EZ, Bazza. How are we all? Al dente, obviously. How are we all? Look, let's start with some really good stuff out of the loan roundup, okay? Because I think that's more important right this second than people talking about the Spurs job, all right? So let's start in there, and we're going to whiz through this. Don't worry, we won't spend long. We're gonna whiz through it because there's not as much this week. So ready, set, go. Starting with a little bit of decent news in terms of Manor Solomon. He played over 170 minutes in the last two games. He played in the 2-0 win against Millwall in midweek and played at the weekend in a 2-2 draw against QPR. He played quite well. I did actually watch this game. He did play quite well. It's really interesting how much Leeds fans do not like Aronson. And I've been talking to my Leeds friend for a while now, and I said, as long as you're buying Manor Solomon for about £15 million, happy days. And the more I watch him, the more I realise, yeah, it probably is about £15 million we can get for him. In the same game, Yang, obviously for QPR, he did not play at all. He was on the bench and stayed on the bench. Brian Hill, a little bit of sad news here. Brian Hill, it potentially looks like his season is over with potentially needing some knee surgery. They're doing tests to find out if they need surgery or not. He's played 33 times this season with 4 goals, 3 assists. So sort of 1 in every 4.5 games. He gets a goal contribution. I think it's a season that he truly needed, if I'm honest. He needed to really be playing. And playing like reasonable minutes, not these sort of 5-10 minute bit parts. I still expect him to be moved on this summer. It's just a shame sort of how it's ended. Staying in Spain, though, the Alejo Veliz, another unused substitute appearance. It's been a really tough season. I think for a little while, it looked like it was quite promising, playing a lot of minutes, but he's got 4 goals this season. I'm pretty sure 3 came within 1 game. So he's got 1 goal in 21 appearances. 22 appearances, maybe, actually. So not great. Will Lancashire, though, coming off the bench for West Brom in a 1-1 draw against Hull City at home. He got 4 minutes there. He got 16 minutes off the bench in a draw against Burnley. Obviously, West Brom are fighting for the playoff spots. They're fighting for a return to the Premier League. And I think, look, even though maybe he's not getting as many minutes as we would hope, he's getting minutes in a very, very solid league, especially if this is your first loan move. You're getting a loan move to a really solid championship side. It's just kind of a shame they got Adam Armstrong on loan. Ashley Phillips got himself a clean sheet in midweek against his old team in Blackburn, but then lost 1-0 at Millwall at the weekend. Obviously, look, 1 goal conceded in 2 games. You're probably hoping that you're going to be picking up 6 points there. They didn't. They only scored 1 goal in the same amount of time. It's not. I'm going to say this now. It's not his fault. Stoke are struggling. That's just simple as that. And anytime you can get a clean sheet when you're a team struggling as much as they are, it's massive. Leyton Orient, they won 2-1 at Blackpool, back on winning ways now. Finally, Josh Keeley had a big performance. He was busy as well. 7 saves, which is massive, and he made a point-blank save. And Jamie Donnelly came off the bench for the last half an hour, and then a much-needed 3 points. Hopping over to Belgium, Alfie Devine playing 30 minutes off the bench in a 2-1 win away to Beerschot. Is, I think, how you pronounce it. Westerlo back up to 9th now. Obviously, they were plummeting through the table, but now it looks like Look, now it looks like they've sort of started to climb back up. Vuskovic obviously played the full game, as you can expect. If it wasn't for Vuskovic, they probably would be towards the absolute bottom of the table, but now have a chance for Europe next season for Westerlo, which is just kind of crazy, if I'm honest. Buzzing to get him in this summer. He will be here this summer, and I'm buzzing to see what he's got for us. Alfie Dorrington out in Scotland. He got himself his first start in 6 weeks in the Premiership versus St Johnstone. They kept a clean sheet, drew 0-0. Obviously, look, he did his job. Aberdeen did not do their job going the other way, but he did his job. And look, he's got just under 430 minutes across, I think it's like 8 or 9 games now. Again, it's just minutes in a solid league. I mean, you think of these teams in the SPL, at worst, they're League One sides, Championship sides. I mean, Celtic Rangers obviously played at the weekend in a bonkers game, but he's playing really solid minutes for what is a top 4 side in the Scottish League. So nothing to be complaining about there. Matthew Craig still missing time at Mansfield Town. George Abbott, again, playing crazy amounts of minutes for Notts County. He played the full 90 in a win in midweek and a 2-0 win at midweek against Grimsby. Again, played a full game at the weekend, but they lost 2-1 at home to Chesterfield. They're sitting in the playoff spot still. And again, if you're a team that's recently come out from what would be the conference into League Two, and you're in the playoffs, I think that's still a really great return. He's got 10 goal contributions in 34 games from central midfield. So he's been a massive player for them. So there you go. A little bit of news there. I forgot to quickly check, actually, on Real Betis for my boy Johnny Cardoso. 3-2 win away to Lagun. Cool, they came from 2-0 down as well. Crikey. Cardoso didn't play. There's no wonder they conceded 2 goals against Lagan, who are set third bottom. Cardoso plays. They probably win that one quite comfortably. But Betis got 5 wins in 5 now, and they're climbing the table. I mean, they're joint 5th with Villarreal. They're 8 points behind Athletic Bilbao. I mean, look, hey, the Champions League is not off the table for Betis, let alone the Europa League. So kudos to them. So there you go. Loan roundup done. And I did it in like 7 minutes. Not bad. Not bad. I've missed some comments. Morning, Simo. You all right, mate? Morning, Eds. I wonder if we might not get much for Hill now. No, I think with Brian, it's a little bit down to the release clause that we have on terms of, the buy option. Sorry, not a release clause, a buy option. It's 15 million euros, I think. I think Spurs will probably end up negotiating that. I think he will go to Girona or he will go to Spain this summer for sure. And he will go permanently. I think if Spurs were to say somewhere between 8 and 10 million, I think you take it, you wash your hands of this deal and you move on. It's something we should be doing more often. Competent sides do that. If they make a mistake on a transfer deal, they don't try and hold on and pray that the value appreciates. They just kind of go, it's not working. It's not worked. Let's just wash our hands and just move on. They should be doing that more often. We don't. We love to hold on and pray that we get a few quid out of someone. But in these sort of situations, just make a few quid. I think Solomon, you'll make some money on Solomon. He's had a really solid year in the Championship, and I think he'll continue to have a really good end to the season. Leeds are obviously top of the table. They're doing very well. They should come back to the Premier League, and I think in turn you can sell Solomon to Leeds. Obviously, Vuskovic, I think, will be here in the summer. We'll see about Phillips. I think he'll get pre-season. I think the Leeds will get some pre-season football. We'll see what we've got there. Same with Lancashire. Trying to think. Obviously, Alfie, we'll see what Alfie's got in pre-season. I think this summer's a bit of a make or break for Alfie Devine, to be honest, with obviously how old he is compared to some of the other young midfielders that we got, like in Jamie Donnelly. I think it's a bit of a make or break season. I could see it being a bit of a Troy Parrott situation, if I'm honest. Obviously, Jamie and Josh, let's see what we got there in pre-season. I think Josh will go back out on loan next year, but I think he'll go to a Championship side. We'll see with Jamie. I don't know with Jamie, but Josh, I expect to go out back on loan. I can see Lancashire going on loan again next year to a Championship side. Yeah, I think we'll see, but I think there's a few options there that Spurs can make a few quid on for sure. Any good news about the club thinking sack Ange? Ange's not getting sacked, mate. He's not getting sacked. Are these interviews hints that Poch will return in the summer? Well, I'm going to come to it in just a second. You'll see what I mean. Um, Rather Poch than Iraola. I want Poch to come back. Divine won't make it for us. There's no guarantees that Iraola would want to work under Levy, potentially no Europe, where Bournemouth might be in Europe. Realistically, it will have to be either Donnelly or Divine, pretty similar players in age. Yeah, I think Divine's playing at a higher level in terms of the Belgian league is obviously better than League One, but Jamie's performances this season, I mean, let's look at the League One table really quickly. So they're 5 points off the playoff spots later on. I mean, obviously they lost like 5 games in a row before winning last time out, which isn't going to help. But their goal difference is very comparable to the teams in the playoffs. They're 3 worse than 6th, 4 worse than 5th, 2 worse than 4th. So I don't think, I wouldn't say they're out of that race whatsoever. I think they're definitely in that race, but they're going to need to really go on a bit of a run here, like they did on the losing run. They need to go on a bit of a winning run now, win sort of 3 or 4 in a row, and hope that teams above them can get some scalps taken off of them. You know what I mean? So I think Jamie's had a really massive part, as well as obviously Josh, as to why they've turned it around this season. Obviously, they were near the relegation zone for a long time, and I think playing Josh and playing Jamie were 2 huge reasons to why they actually turned it around. Anyway, let's talk managers, because this is ridiculous. Also, I want to talk about Basuma. We got a bit of an update on Biss, but I'll talk about that in a second. We'll get there in a minute. Let's talk about the manager side of things, because Pochettino has been talking. He has been talking indeed. He's been a very, very busy boy. And isn't it so funny that when we think about the last sort of 24 hours, we've had loads of chatter around potential new managers next season. Okay. And it's really funny. I put a poll up and it was like, if Ange is not to be here next season, who would it be? And people going, if. It's like, okay, dude, are you a fortune teller? Can you predict the future? If you can, give us the lottery numbers. Thank you very much. I won't ever have to work a day in my life. But obviously, you can't tell the future. So, yes, it is if. Okay. And I put on the list Iraola, Inzaghi, Xavi, and Thomas Frank. Those were the 4 options. You can only put 4. Okay. I wish I could have put like 8 or 9, but you can only put 4. And I think, if I remember correctly, Iraola won. He actually won that poll. I think it was like 60% as well. I think Inzaghi might have been second. Now, I think on that list, obviously, Xavi and Inzaghi are the 2 that have like won things. Obviously, they're a bit more of an out-and-out winner, but obviously they would demand you to spend proper money. Okay. Now, I don't think you'd get Inzaghi anyway. He's at a club that is super competitive in their league. They get Champions League football every year. Hey, Milan is a pretty nice city as well, so it's not like that. The only reason you could get an Inzaghi is if you're going to overspend on managers' wages, which Spurs don't have an issue doing. We are happy to spend on managers' wages. It's just players' wages that Spurs ownership really doesn't like doing, unless it's someone that's been here for multiple years and it's obviously cheaper than buying a new player. But Inzaghi, I don't think will come. Xavi would want guarantees about how we're going to spend money, how we're going to improve the wage spending as well. I don't think Levy would want that. I think Levy would want someone from further down to come in and feel like they're lucky to have the job. They should appreciate the job, right? Kind of how I think he looked at Ange in that regard. He's come in from the SPL. He's going to really appreciate this top 6 Spurs job. Xavi's like, mate, you realise I played for like 2 decades with Barcelona as a Barcelona captain. I've also managed Barcelona. Daniel Levy would go, oh, yeah, Barca are quite a big team, aren't they? Yeah, I kind of understand that. And Xavi is also like, yeah, and also they spend hundreds of thousands of euros on wages on players because they're really solid players. They're really good players. We'd go, how about Sergio Reguilon on a new 5-year deal? Xavi's like, shut up, get out of my... Get off the phone. I don't want to speak to you anymore. Daniel Levy's like, crap, we don't even have Ange to sell someone on this next move. Inzaghi, if I'm him, I'm not. Obviously, Italians are very loyal to the Italian league. They love being in Italy, and I don't blame them. Yeah, the culture's lovely. The food's great. The food is unbelievable, by the way. He plays at a really iconic stadium. Well, he doesn't play. He manages at a really iconic stadium. He's worshipped by the Inter fans. They're top of the table. If you ask a Spurs fan, they'll tell you Conte and Napoli are top of the table, but they're not. They're not top of the table. It's Inzaghi and it's Inter Milan, and they're better than Napoli. They actually play some all right football as well. Watching them, they play a 3-5-2. You get people twerking about the Bastoni side of things, but actually, if you watch like your Denzel Dumfries, Federico Di Marco, Henrik Mkhitaryan is a central midfielder and he's playing unbelievably. People will talk about Barella and Bastoni, but there's so many other players in that team that are very, very good. Why would you leave that? The only reason to leave that is if Spurs like quadruple his wages, and they won't go that far. They'll double his wages, but they won't go that far. So he won't come. Thomas Frank and Iraola. Obviously, let's start with Thomas Frank. We've done the pragmatic approach. We've done the whole, hey, we're gonna play for 35 to 40% possession, the occasional 45% if the game goes our way. We're gonna sit back, hit on the counter, and try and win some games 1-0, 2-1. Okay, well, we've had that manager a few times actually before. There's a guy sitting third in the Premier League table who's that kind of manager. Obviously, Forest are even more so that because obviously their possession stats, I think, are even lower than Brentford's. But we also had treble winning, Champions League winning, Serie A winning, Premier League winning, FA Cup winning, Europa League winning, Conference League winning, Jose Mourinho. And we've had Serie A winning, Coppa Italia winning, Premier League winning, FA Cup winning, Italian manager, Antonio Conte, who are a level above that, right? We've had that. We chased them out. We hated them. It was very toxic. Okay, so I don't really want to go through that. As well as the other issue we have is we've got a manager right now who is about playing attacking football and technical football. My issue is to get someone, and I think Thomas Frank's a good manager, by the way. My issue is you spent 18 months coming into 2 years of playing this style of football. You now rip that down, rip that up, get rid of loads of those players to then go back that way. So if you're going to do that, I hope Spurs fans, one, are finally knowing the word patience in terms of, hey, you're going to need 6 windows to get this fixed then because you're starting completely again. So don't look at the fact that you've got Christian Romero. He'll be gone. He won't be here if Thomas Frank comes in. Sonny, he's getting old. He'll be gone. James Maddison is going to be in his early 30s, actually, when that becomes a credible system. You're going to have Vicario in his probably 30s by that point. Solanke will be pretty much in his late 20s into nearly his early 30s by that point. And that's the issue that you have. If you're going to go from the attacking side of things to the pragmatic side of things, that's fine. Just be aware that it's going to take multiple years to get it right. Don't expect within 1 year Spurs to be fine, because they're not going to be. Because you've got to support the manager. You've got to give the manager what he needs, or what he at least thinks he needs, to have that success that you want him to have. And under a completely change of style, you're not going to get it within 1 year. So, there's going to be crap results, rocky periods, sometimes not the nicest of football. There's going to be other times where football's pretty decent. There's going to be some, good results, right? You get the opposite, obviously. But as long as people can sit through the negative times and the bad times and obviously not be a bunch of idiots and realize that it's going to take time, it's that. Let's be honest, he'll be here for 18 months. We'll chase him out as well. That's what we do. We don't like to spend time on any manager. We want the new hot thing. Iraola is the new hot thing, by the way. So that's why we want him, obviously. Obviously for him, Andoni Iraola, the Bournemouth manager, plays a bit more of a similar football to Ange in terms of high press and attack. I saw people saying, off the ball, they're so solid defensively. I don't think they're as good as everyone thinks, if I'm honest. People will go, but actually, if you look at the stats, I'm like, actually, if you just look at the team and look at the game, I watched them against us. I, wasn't blown away by defensive ability there. This season, they've conceded 7 less than us. Okay. And that's with the best young defender in the world at the moment, Dean Huijsen, Zabarnyi, Senesi. there's some good players there, right? And defensively, they probably are maybe a little better than us. Okay. But if we're going to do what we've been doing now, is that not just the exact same what we have if he was to come in, just the European version instead of an Australian version? I'm just not blown away by that option. I'm not really. Inzaghi would. I would love Inzaghi again. That's going to take multiple years to get off the ground and running because you're going from a 4-3-3, a 4-2-3-1, and that kind of realm to a 3-5-2 again. That's going to take years to get back if you do go for him. Frank out. We're already practicing early doors. It also depends if Spurs want to spend money on coaches they want to supply. It's the total package. I mean, does Spurs want to lose Ryan Mason from the back room? I look, for me, you give the coach what he wants. That's my attitude. If he doesn't want Mason, he doesn't want Mason. If he wants all of the coaching team that Ange would have left, Ange goes and all that coaching team's there, then you give him that. That's fine. It's on the manager. You give the manager what he feels he needs to have success. For too long, the manager goes, "Oh, I really like these 5 players. Can we get these 5?" We go, "You can have this one." He goes, "Brilliant. We need that." And they go, "No, not giving you those 4. How about these cheaper 4?" And the manager goes, "Is that all I can get?" And they go, "Yeah, not doing that. You can have these." And the manager goes, "Well, if I can't get anything else, I might as well have that." And that's another issue. Other clubs seem to get the first or second option every single time. We seem to get 7, 8, 9 because it's just cheaper. I mean, look, I had people saying Conor Gallagher's no good. He's the first Englishman to ever score in a Madrid derby. Jude Bellingham's been there for a couple of years now, right? Ange wanted him. Oh, but he's Chelsea player who never would have come to Spurs. You don't know that. What we do know is Ange wanted him, and we were told in the summer we didn't want him because the wages were too high. Same with Eze. We didn't do the Eze deal because the deal was a little bit too expensive. And I get the idea, like it's 60 million up front. People don't do that. I get that. But like, what was the second option? You know what I mean? I think that's the other issue. The second option wasn't there. Second option's here, and it's like, oh, Wilson Odebear when the season's already started. It's like, I don't think that was the second option at all. I think that was way further down on the list. Morning, team, mate. Big Demon, how are you? I like Iraola as a manager, and he's achieved a lot with the Bournemouth team, but I'm not sure if Phil's the right next manager for us. No, I don't think it's the next manager for us personally. The results recently haven't been great to look at for them as well. It's just Ange's second year. I know. A squad is pretty much already set up for Iraola's tactics. That's because Iraola's tactics are pretty much Ange tactics. It's kind of how it works. But again, I don't even think this squad is complete for Ange. I always said you needed at least 3 summers for Ange to get what he needed, because obviously you'd gone through years of Mourinho, Conte, and Nuno who had bought players for their 3-5-2, sort of 3-4-3, whatever the version is that you want to do. We obviously got someone who plays a 4-back, so that's completely changed. But also you got a guy who plays way more attacking on the football side of things. Those guys didn't. Conte would be like, I'd rather have 1% football and win 1-0 at home to Leicester than have to have 55% possession and win 1-0. He doesn't care. It's the 1-0 that matters for him. It's the issue that you have. If you're going to go that way, fine. But just everyone has to be patient and not get angry if we were to lose a game at home to Fulham. I think we also over-egg where we should be. People seem to think, oh, because we had that one season undefeated at home, that's now from now on, we should never lose at home. And it's like, ooh, that's not how football works. It's not even how FIFA works. It's not even how Football Manager works. Funny how some think Ange is to blame and not the management, how it always falls on the manager is laughable. Any new manager needs 3 full seasons. Well, at the end of the day, this ownership has to change their model. We know that. To have what we want as fans, they have to. I mean, we talked about Newcastle. Newcastle spend a lot of their revenue on wages. Oh, I said, corner cut. We love it. Because we love look at our wages. Oh, look at our revenue to wages. It's like, the idea is if your revenue goes up, your wages should go along with it. But the issue is at our club, the football is not the most important thing. We know that. It's the Beyonce tickets. It's the Taylor Swift side of things. That's what's the important thing. I mean, you think about when they asked him your top 3 moments as Spurs chairman. The Carling Cup win was not in those top 3 moments. That's a bad sign. That is a really bad sign because that's the only trophy we've won under him, and it wasn't in his top 3 moments. It should be number 1. It should be absolutely number 1 on that list, and it wasn't. He doesn't care about that because the Carling Cup, EFL Cup, as you want to call it if you're a young person, for me, I call it the League Cup. I'm in my late 20s. It was the League Cup when I was watching when I was first growing up. It doesn't provide any money in terms of winning the trophy. Like Newcastle would not have won in terms of prize money much. Now, they would have obviously got revenue from the extra games they had at home and that sort of thing. But in terms of the actual revenue from winning that trophy, it's non-existent. And that's the issue that we as fans look at it and go, oh, it's a chance to win a trophy. And Daniel Levy goes, yeah, it's like our 4th interesting option. Top 4 is a minimum. If we can win another trophy, great. But the Carling Cup, if it was that one, fine. But I would rather win the other 2 way more because it provides way more money. There's the issue. There's a disconnect, you know. Is Ange developing Bergvall to players like Conor? No, he's more technically gifted than Conor Gallagher. Conor Gallagher's a scrapper. And he suits Ange Ball. He does. Ange coach step doesn't feel right. He just accepts any coaches, it seems. Never sat right with me. Get a coach team the managers work with. Well, he's got people that he has worked with, but I think Mason feels like a bit of a. I mean, Mason's been here for how many different managers now? That's a bad sign to me. I know there's some Spurs fans that go, just give it to him at the end of the season. It can't go any worse. It's like, yeah, we shouldn't keep doing that. That's not successful. That's not what successful clubs do. Competent clubs don't do that. Now, do they hire Ange or do they hire Mourinho or Conte? Fine, another question. But on just this point alone, that's not what smart clubs do. He shouldn't still be here. No offense. He should be managing in League One or League Two or the Championship. You know, doing a Frank Lampard, who's doing a fantastic job at Coventry. That's what he should be doing. He shouldn't be sitting on the bench for multiple different managers. You know, Iraola stats are different, much more direct and positional flexibility up front. Yeah, but I mean, also at the same time, Bournemouth, second most sprints in the league behind Spurs, pretty much second most injuries behind Spurs. So what I'm saying is, it is so similar to Ange. You're not going to get exactly the same as a manager. You never do. No manager is the same as one another. You know, as much as Mourinho, Conte, and Nuno play similar football, they're not exactly the same, are they? But you know, just it is in the same realm. So that's why you have to just be aware of that. Marshall, I'm good. How are you, my friend? Is Iraola buckling under pressure? No win in 6. I think injuries are a massive part. I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt. I'm going to give Bournemouth the benefit of doubt. They've got injuries. They've got suspensions. Zabarnyi obviously got sent off only, I think he's back this next game. He's back. I think we were the 3rd game in his suspension or we were the 2nd game in his suspension. Obviously, he got a straight red, so I think he gets 3 games. But, you know, they've got injury issues. I totally get it. That's why I give him the benefit of doubt. I give Ange the benefit of doubt, so I have to give him the benefit of doubt. You know, I gave Eddie Howe the benefit of doubt last season. You know, so you got to give the benefit of doubt when injuries are a thing. People will tell you injuries, you know, we lost 15 games. It's not good enough. Not good enough. It's like, oh, yeah, no, I know it's not good enough, but we have had some injuries to suspensions. Don't care, not good enough. It's like, okay, right. So you don't actually want to have that conversation. It's just very much like, it's my agenda, my agenda, my agenda. If it's not my agenda, you're wrong, I'm right. And it's like, oh, okay, let's not have a conversation because I feel like I'm just going to bash my head into the wall trying to listen to you or trying to converse with you. Like I said, yesterday, my Brighton fan friend literally messaged this. I'll pull up his message, exactly this, because we were talking about the links surrounding Spurs and their manager side of things. And I mean, my Leeds friend, he said both would, talking about Iraola and Marco Silva, said both would fail at Spurs. My friend who from the Leeds fan said, I 100% agree. And the fact they're going for those types of managers means Spurs will always fail to step up. The Brighton fan says, not even banter. Problem is more than the manager. Same with Man United. It's what I've been saying for ages. These are other football fans saying the exact same thing as me. Yet we have some Spurs fans that don't think this. If other fans can spot this and our own fans can't, that's a bad sign. And also the other one, what did he say? He said, modern football is tin pot clubs like Brighton, earning enough money to run their clubs better than the Big Six. Daniel Levy is stuck in the 2010s and he still thinks that being, quote, Big Six means finishing in the top six consistently. The Leeds fans said, Levy and Spurs fans think top six is just to go around and pick the best players at non-top six sides, and that will just work. He said when even teams like City and Liverpool took years of integrating and buying young to be on the bench, and then they worked their way into the team. He said, issue isn't even the starting 11. In those scenarios, it's the training. Who are you practicing against if you've got 10/11 fit players? He says, you can't be shocked you're bad at set pieces if Romero and Van der Ven are up against Dane Scarlett. I mean, look, that's a Leeds fan and a Brighton fan saying those things. Just saying. Just saying. We've got Spurs fans that don't like Ange. Fine, not a problem. But you also have to pick up on the context of all the situations, right? If you're Ange out or Ange in, I don't mind. Either way, I don't mind. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm a tweener. People think I'm an Ange sexual. I'm a tweener. I'm sitting in the middle. Because at the end of the day, I have to just back the club. And he's not going anywhere. He'll probably be here to the end of the season. He's going nowhere. So you have to just back the situation because there's nothing else we can do. And you'll get someone that goes, actually, we can. It's like, shut up, you weirdo. But the fact that other fans of other leagues, you know, that's the championship. Leeds are in the championship, picking up on the situation at Spurs. And we've got other Spurs fans on Twitter who don't. And it's all about clicks and saying stupid things and hoping they go viral and get the followers and get the blue tick and make some money off of Twitter, benefiting off of our downfall, obviously. Spurs fans. Bournemouth had so many injuries and haven't had European football this season. Yeah, can you imagine what it would be like? Granddad phone case. It is a bit, it's a bit knackered. You can see it's a bit dirty. I probably need to clean it. But there's a ring light there. You see? There's my ring light. But also it's a protective one. I can drop it from any height and it's fine. Can I ask what it is about Ange that impresses you? When fit, we're a good side. It's just when we're fit is the issue. We didn't get a job, he's still here. Exactly. It's a lot more than manager. That's problem. Biggest problems are culture and recruitment. Well, and the lack of spending on wages. That's a real massive issue. Realistically, there will be less than 4 weeks until the end of the season by the time we play the second leg. He ain't going anywhere, no matter what. Yeah, he's going nowhere. He's going nowhere. But let's talk about then what Poch said, because I've been stalled. You've stalled me all. Basically, I'm just going to read a quick quote out from it's like a minute 40 long, this segment. But he said, when I left the club, I always remember one interview. I said I'd like to come back to Tottenham. I'm in the USA, but after 6 years, I still feel in my heart that, yes, I would like to come back. We see the timing, like Daniel said. Just why is it coming out? That's another issue that I have in it. Like, this shouldn't be coming out. It shouldn't be. Like, no talk on the managers. Like, that shouldn't be coming out. The fact that it's coming out is Sky Sports and those firms are very much like, oh, it's international break. There's not that much football on. Ooh, could do with some clicks and views and get a bit of money. Or interview Pochettino. We'll call it the World Cup. We'll do the build-up to World Cup, but let's ask him about Spurs. That's what it is. It's like news coming about Iraola being interested in Spurs' job. Why is it coming out now? They want to. What it is there's going to be some journalists in the press conferences now using that against Ange to get him to bite on some of their comments, and then obviously they can make money off their articles. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's boring. Look, we obviously have a very fond view of Poch. Forget the Chelsea management aside. We have a good view on Poch in terms of, well, we played some nice football. You know, we were good at home. Away from home, obviously for the last year, we were crap. Worst team in world football, probably. We couldn't win away from home as a top six club, which obviously that's unacceptable. But also, let's be real here. It's been 6 years, and we're still talking about then. We didn't win a trophy, and I get he gave you that warm, fuzzy feeling. Okay, I get that. I got it as well. But he was a manager here 6 years ago, and we're still talking about it. We love to live in the past. We don't seem to think about and love the idea of the future. You don't go back to an ex. That's what they say, right? Think about your ex-partner. You think, imagine you had to go back to them. You'd go, no, I don't want to do that. God, no. No, 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 no. That's what we're doing. And that's kind of my issue, you know. He's also not going to have a younger human Son here. He's not going to have a prime. He's not going to have coming into his prime Harry Kane. He's not going to have best English youngster in a long time in Dele Alli. He's not going to have Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld, the best right back in the league potentially at that time, and Kyle Walker. Well, the best fullback pairing in Danny Rose and Kyle Walker. Hugo Lloris, who was fantastic at that time. You know, a brilliant number 6 in Victor Wanyama. He's not going to have these options. You know, Christian Eriksen. He's not going to have those options. This squad now is not as good as that squad then. Simple as that. Simple as that. So if you're going to bring him in, you must back him. And we didn't back Poch. We cut his legs out from underneath him and said, you still have to win stuff. And he's like, but I need some, you know, financial support. I need to buy some players. You know, I could do with a little bit of rotational, you know, ability. No. We've got to worry about the stadium that's coming along. So you're not spending any money. It's like, oh, but you still want the exact same results. Yeah, no, we want the exact results or better. And it's like, well, you're not helping me to do that. So how can you expect that? And that's the issue. We cut his legs out from underneath him. We then demanded for him as ownership, demanded him to basically just keep it in the top 4. That's all Levy cared about. It's all he's ever cared about. It's because the Champions League revenue is where the money's at. He's like Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob. All he cares about is money. Doesn't care about anything else. Give me the money. And that's the issue. And I'm really struggling with this looking back idea. I really am. But if you're going to go for Poch, I mean, I don't bother. I think he's got a bit of a weird deal in terms of the US job. And I think it's really difficult to get him out of that role. So I don't think it's going to be this summer that you would get a Pochettino. It'll be a job in the summer of 2026 at the earliest after the World Cup. So again, you're just bringing in a manager then for a year and you're just wasting a year. And that's another issue. So as much as, yes, we have warm, fuzzy feelings around finishing second in the Premier League and going to a Champions League final, we also didn't win anything. We also didn't win away from home for over a year when he was there. Mourinho came in, first game, London derby, 1-3-2 against West Ham, at West Ham. Mourinho did more in that one game than Pochettino did for a whole year away from home. Can you imagine now, with how toxic this fan base is, if Pochettino did not win a game away from home for a year? Can you imagine how bad it would be? You know, you get people that are very Poch pro, but even then they would turn on him. That you know, you see what I mean? It's a bit of an issue. Hey, Sean, how are you? I did see your comment, Sean, about being a hospital bed. I hope you're okay. I hope you're okay. I know it's never fun being in the hospital, all right? Soon enough, you'll be back out, hopefully, and causing havoc in Vietnam. Exactly, Andy, totally different team. Does the ownership really back any manager? Well, they do to a certain point, and then they realise, oh, it's starting to get a bit expensive. Oh, don't want to do that. You want these 5 players? We'll give you 1, and then we're going to give you 4 guys that you don't really want, but we're going to pretend that it was your idea. Man, you're telling the truth. You're not just trying to sell emotions to people to get views. Oh, appreciate it, Eve. Eve Lionel Diamande. What a name that is, by the way. I've always said I could sit here, come up with crazy puns, be really reactionary and over the top and get loads more views and loads more subscribers, but that feels like I'm selling out. So I'd rather just have a conversation. This is what I do at the pub with friends. I sit there and have a conversation about football and feel like it is a conversation you can learn from one another instead of going on Twitter and feel like I'm losing brain cells. I can't do that. People that live on Twitter and talk about Spurs all day, I don't know how they do it. They've, you know, it's just not great. Poch is the reason we brought in Ndombele and Lo Celso. Life lesson: never return to an old job. There you go. See, you won't get him from the USA squad during/after the World Cup. We either get him this summer or forget it. Iraola in, Ange out. Save your energy, support team. We finished 4th and reached Champions League final. Poch's last season. It's not just about history. He's the best and most suited manager. Who is better suited? Yeah, but being suited right? I get, again, I get this idea, right? I totally get this idea. I I think it was probably about right in weird results wise. I understood why he was fired. Okay, how it was done, I didn't like the fact that Mourinho was just sitting there waiting just to walk in the front door. I didn't like that, but that's on Daniel Levy. Okay, but again, it was 6 years ago. We've been through like 5 or 6 managers since that time, trying to find that Poch feeling. But I genuinely feel like this. If you brought Poch back, you're not going to get that same warm, fuzzy feeling. The fan base is too toxic. It is. I'm sorry. That's the biggest. That's one of the biggest issues. Is the fan base now? We're too toxic. We lose it. It's like I didn't hear a word about Chelsea losing to Ipswich. By the way, I didn't hear a word from Spurs fans. We lost to them. And it's like, right, tear it all down. I hate Ange. I hate Australia. I hate everything about it. But you can lose a game. You're allowed to lose a game of football. I hope everyone knew that, right? And I'm not talking about the all the games we lost this season, because we were toxic at the start of the season when we weren't losing 15 games and we were still sitting in and around the top 4. We were toxic then. So Poch coming back, we'd give it a little while. Some results maybe aren't as good, but hey, it's Poch. We love what Poch was. But what if Poch is like, hey, the best we can do is 7th and we're not going to win any trophies? Are people going to still be happy with that? And that's the issue that I'm finding. I don't think you're going to get the same warm, fuzzy feeling that you got from that Poch era, right? Because it's White Hart Lane. I feel like it's more of a White Hart Lane than a Poch thing. We have obviously fond memories of White Hart Lane. I mean, in fact, I've seen this is, by the way, peak Twitter. He's the best manager in their history. That's when you know Twitter has no football IQ. No football IQ. He's our best manager, apparently. Okay. Yikes. Okay. But we're not going to have White Hart Lane. We're not going to have Harry Kane, the world's best striker. We're not going to have him. We're not going to have Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld. We're not going to have a younger Hugo Lloris. That Hugo Lloris that played under Poch was phenomenal, by the way. People will talk about the ending of his Spurs career. I'm going to talk about his better years under Spurs management. He was phenomenal as a goalkeeper. Danny Rose and Kyle Walker. We haven't got that. You might like Jed Spence. You might like Desi Udogie or Pedro Porro. They're not Danny Rose and they're not Kyle Walker. You haven't got prime Moussa Dembele in that midfield. You've not got a Victor Wanyama. Moussa Dembele and Victor Wanyama still start in this midfield. And they might be in their late 30s. They might still start. I'm joking, obviously. But you know what I mean? Those two in under Poch were phenomenal. You've not got the playmaking of Christian Eriksen. You've not got a younger Heung-Min Son, Dele Alli. That team that Poch had is better than the team we have now, which shows a lot on, obviously, the higher ups because they've been here the whole time. So, for me, if you're going to do Poch, okay, you better be ready to spend hundreds of millions of pounds in the first window. And we're not going to do that. And we'd say to Poch, we can give you 1 or 2 players, but you need to work with that squad, because that's what we do to every other manager. You need to work with that squad. But they don't fit my style of play. Don't care. We spent money on them. Make it work. That's not what you do to managers. The top managers all got to bring in their people. It takes a bit of time. Look at Arteta. It took 3 years to clear out all the crap, and then they brought in the Arteta players. Klopp, it took multiple windows for Klopp. Pep, it took multiple windows of Pep. I think he finished 4th in his first season or something like that. It takes multiple years. So you need to clear out the crap that the manager is not going to want. Take losses on players, sell them on the cheap, buy out contracts, whatever it takes. But we won't do that. And that is another issue, So let's see what everyone feels like. We've got a couple of agreements with Joshua and Robert. How are you both? Or Roberto? It's always Robert, it appears, but it's Roberto, I know. Are we allowed to win a game, Andy? That would be nice. One on Thursday. We won within the last week alone. We're still in Europe. But Poch had much better players to use then. When Son meets Poch, hi Son, you've aged. What changed? Son, Nothing. No trophies, no medical staff is crap, but at least the fans will love you for the next 18 months. And then they'll try and chase him out. If Ange had Poch's squad, Spurs would have dominated. The only way Ange could get the sack is if we go out of Europe. So if you're waiting for that to happen, you want us to go out. There's the other issue. People don't support the manager. They support the idea of him leaving, you know. I guess we overachieved last season, and this season shows where the squad really is at the moment. Well, look, if you cut down on wages, there's the issue. Wages correlate to success. If you don't think so, please don't look at any of the big boys having success and look at why they are. Got players on big money. Got players on big money. Do you think Virgil van Dijk would play at Spurs for 150 grand a week? Not a chance. Not a chance. You know, do you think who's a good one? Do you think players like, not even like the world's best players, by the way, because I think that's a bit of a harsh one, Virgil van Dijk. Think of like Liverpool, right? Because they're top of the league. Let's use Liverpool. Look at their midfield. Gravenberg, McAllister, Szoboszlai. Do you think Spurs would spend 65, 70 million on Szoboszlai, give him 150 to 200 grand a week, and then buy McAllister and buy Gravenberg? No, we wouldn't. We'd get one of those and we'd do that, and that's it. And we go, there's an 18-year-old there who's cheap. Use him. Got a huge stadium compared to Anfield. It hosts loads of events. It creates loads of money. Look at Arsenal. They spend so much more money on wages than we do. I think it's like £100 million difference on wages. We turn over more money than them. They're going for it. They think they've got a chance. They're going for it. You know, Chelsea. We turn more money over than Chelsea. They spend more money on wages. There's a correlation there. If you're going to be cheap on wages, don't expect success. If you're going to go for it and you try your absolute damn best to do something, fair play. That's why you have success. Send Johnson back to Forest as part of the deal for Gibbs White. Look, I was wrong on Gibbs White. Do you know what? I had this conversation with someone, and it's okay to put your hands up. It's roundtable talk. He's not here at the moment, but he sort of said, I sort of said to him, I said, it's okay to be wrong in football. You're allowed to actually be wrong about a player. I said Rafinha. I wasn't really sure on him. I didn't really want him at Spurs. I don't think he's done very well at Barca. Been incredible this season. Hands up, I was wrong. Gibbs White's another one. I didn't think Gibbs White was the right player. Turns out he's had a really good season. He should have been in the England squad from the get-go, not an injury call-up, you know. Bring a Klopp. No, Klopp's got a job for Red Bull. If Prachi is back as director of football in the summer, Inzaghi may be a likely candidate. Prachi's linked with the AC Milan job, the director of football. You know, bad manager would have us high up the table. I really think it's indisputable. Yeah, but I'm not denying that. Who you think is a better manager is always an interesting shout. People will say Iraola, right? Plays once a week, doesn't have Europe, doesn't have those situations. But also, let's be real here, Roberto. 12 injuries, and it's not like 12 injuries to like your backups. Your goalkeeper, your two centre-halves, your left-back, your two of your central midfielders, your two strikers, and another winger option, right? If you lose all that, there's no way you're expecting us to be sitting around the top six. And no manager. And by the way, that's on no manager. Money talks. Everyone has their price. I sure do. You could buy me with a bottle of squash. I'm cheap. Even if Aston Villa spend more on wages than we do, well, they spend like 97% of their last year's income on just wages. They go for it. Ange's system is so brittle that it only works with elite players at their highest level every game. I don't know if you think our starting 11 is elite, by the way. I wouldn't say that at all. Fans wouldn't give Klopp the time he needs anyway. Fans don't want to give anyone they want, because what the fans want is they want to be able to say, shouldn't have picked that manager. I told you should have got that manager. I was right. You're wrong. And that's all we care about. I'm right. You're wrong. I would happily take a manager that I'm not keen on if he's well supported. That's a key issue. He needs to be supported with his players. We haven't done that with a manager. Look at Harry Redknapp. You're telling me Louis Saha, Ryan Nelson on freeze is what Harry Redknapp wanted? No, he didn't want that. So we haven't done it with managers that have had some good success in their building, where you go, If we just gave them that little bit of money, they could have kicked on. Finishing second in the Premier League, that little bit of money to kick on, didn't do that. Didn't do it at Redknapp, didn't do it at Poch, didn't do it at loads of them. But people just want to go, ha, I told you so, I'm right, you're wrong, I know more about football than you do. That's all a lot of our fans care about, and it's such a shame. Even the people I've looked on Twitter recently who have been like, they're really big on the levy out protests. And in the same breath, they just attack the players and the manager and forget about Daniel Levy. It's like, I kind of respected you for your levy out attitude and, putting up a fight and fighting a cause that's not an easy fight and it's going to take time. And you just want a quick fix again and be in the exact same position in 18 months. And it's like, it's such a shame. There's so many people on Twitter that I thought that I actually was like, yeah, I'll follow you. I feel like I actually like what you're saying, and it turns out they're just as bad as anyone else, and it's like that's such a shame. It's such a shame. I thought I found some good Spurs fans, and I didn't find enough. Anyway, are any of our loan players worthwhile bringing in the squad next season? Well, look, Vuskovic will be a shout for next season. We'll see about Jamie Donnelly, Alfie Devine, Ashley Phillips, Keeley. They're the main ones that you would say. I think Lancashire will go back on loan. Lancashire will go back on loan. So, yeah, I think those ones probably are the most likely. I did see that on Toby Alderweireld. It is a shame on his injury. Spurs fans would cheer for Poch week after week until he loses 5 games in a row and it's Poch out again. Trust me, mate, it wouldn't be 5 games in a row for him to be Poch out. It'd be 2 or 3 games. It would be. It would be. I'd go for Roberto Mancini. He's got the best CV and managers available, but again, it won't happen. He'd want to win. We're a club where winning isn't the priority. I don't think he did very well with Saudi, did he? I think he was a Saudi manager. We need to do more levy out protests, in my opinion. Band aid quick fix. Yeah, we don't need levy out. We just need him out of football decisions. He won't do that. Hey, Peter, how are you, my friend? Someone offers you Jose on a 3-year. Sim, I like the idea, mate, but there's a real big issue with your suggestion. Daniel Levy won't want to do it because Daniel Levy fired him before a cup final because if he had won the cup final, to fire him would have costed him millions of pounds more. That's why he got rid of him for the cup final because he looked at it and went, it's Jose Mourinho in a cup final. Some things are in football, nothing is guaranteed. That's not far off a guarantee that Mourinho is going to do something in that final to win it. There's a reason we got rid of him because of it. Because Daniel Levy didn't care about winning the EFL Cup. He didn't care about the League Cup. There's no money in it. There's money in the fact that you would fire Mourinho and it's going to cost you money. So he thought, sack him, bring in Mason. We waved the white flag in that game. We were like, we're not going to win it. So, get Mason in. It's good development. It's good experience. That was like his second game in management. Pep had hundreds, with the most toxic fan base. Hypothetical question. If Spurs were to dismiss Ange, do you think other Premier League teams would be keen on him? Yes, I do. I do, very much so. Mancini, yes. Klopp, yes. Ange will go to Arsenal. Ange won't go to Arsenal, not at all. But no, yeah, other teams would want him, yeah. What we'll do is we'll talk about Basuma tomorrow because I've been on the live for too long. It's been a great conversation today. I actually feel like we got somewhere with a chatter. I feel like being on Twitter, you don't get to have that true discussion because people just, they're abusive and they're rude. It's lovely being on YouTube with you guys. Even the Ange outers, even the Ange inners and everyone in between like me, feel like we actually can have a good conversation. And I feel like sometimes we can learn from one another. And I learn so much from every single live. And you guys are so awesome for sitting here, looking at my ugly mug and the fact that I've got a bit of a ginger beard that needs a shave and the fact that my hair's crap because I've not long come home from the gym. I appreciate you being here, man. I appreciate you conversing. That's why I try and read every single comment if possible. I know I missed some, so apologies. But no, awesome. Dragon hitting me with a sticker. I was wondering if the stickers had worked. So if you are a member, there are stickers. Sorry, Dragon is a member. I'm glad the stickers have finally worked. So there you go. Mate, I'd take any trophy at the moment, Simo. I'd take any bloody trophy at the moment. All right. I'm starved. I'm a hungry boy. I've got an empty plate. I've actually got a few empty plates of no trophies. But look, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for conversing. Thank you so much for voting on the polls and things like that. I'm going to put up another poll after the live. So just refresh the page as I finish the live. Give it 30 seconds to a minute. I'm going to put a poll up. I want you to vote on it as well. And thank you so much for joining me, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be back tomorrow to talk a lot more about Spurs. So I appreciate you coming along. Thanks very much, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your days, your mornings, your afternoons, your evenings, wherever in the world. Enjoy yourself. Peter, go to bed. It's late in Melbourne. And I'll speak to you all very soon. Take care, everyone. Peace.